What's good, everybody? It's your boy D Nice with I2G Radio and the Viva Las Raiders podcast. Back at it with another Las Vegas Raiders pod. Urge everyone to like, comment, and subscribe to us on Apple Music and Spotify. I2G Radio, letter I, number 2, letter G, radio, and also Viva Las Raiders podcast, as it said on YouTube. Let's get right into it. So today we're talking about the Week 5 matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts. Going to give keys to victory. First, we're going to start here on the offensive side of the ball for the Raiders. Raiders 1-3, Colts 3-1. Colts are 6.5 point favorites at home for this game on Sunday. First and foremost, offensive line has got to continue to build. Even with the loss of Colton Miller, it's looking like he's going to be gone bare minimum 4 games. Could be longer than that, depending on health and where the team is at. We'll decide how much longer that's going to be. But Raiders did call up Carter Runyon to the active roster, so they now have 4 tight ends. If Michael Mayer is good to go, still questionable, but if Michael Mayer is good to go from his concussion, he was limited in practice yesterday. Look for him to, probably be on a restricted snap count, but still be out there. Bowers, Mayer being more your receiving tight ends, in 12 and 13 personnel sets. Carter Runyon and Ian Thomas doing a lot more blocking, chipping, especially helping out Stone Forsythe, and they've been doing a lot of that on the right side with DJ Glaze. But either way, it's got to be a collaborative effort between the tight ends and the offensive line to continue their success from last week against the Bears. Gave up almost 260 yards on the ground. Colts are a much better unit defensively against the run, but that doesn't mean that the Raiders cannot continue to try and get that integrated into their offense and have a good offensive game, which ties into my second point. Genty. Feed the Silver Surfer. 21 carries, almost 140 yards last week, 2 receiving touchdowns, 1 on the ground, electrifying 64-yard run. He's here. And we said before, there's other content creators that have also said it. All he really needed was one big game to get himself going, but also stat-wise. This guy is now as a top 10 rusher in the NFL after 4 games, having that monster game. Continues to build on that. He can easily be top 3, top 5, no problem at all. But it's going to be big with this team, especially with time of possession, to run the football. They're not scoring a lot of points anyway to begin with. Got to get better in with the run game. I think as the season continues to progress, the run game is going to be more of an emphasis and a strong point for the Raiders moving forward with a lot of these games. The passing game is very erratic. You also seen in the game against the Bears, they ran a couple jet sweeps, so Trey Tucker is also pitching in with that. Continue to run with Raheem Mostert. Good change of pace back. He had over 60 yards rushing last week, 64 yards rushing, over 10 yards a carry. Continue to work in Mostert and Genty in both of those. And if you've got to add, additional linemen on some plays, short yardage plays, or in the red zone or at goal line situations, Raiders have got to continue to do so. Third point here, short to intermediate passing game. Outside of the first game against New England, Raiders really have gotten away from the short yardage and intermediate passes. I think a lot of this has to do with Michael Mayer being injured and also Brock Bowers not being 100%. Although Brock Bowers runs the entire route tree, he was really one that was going to benefit with Thornton and Trey Tucker on the outside taking his top off the defense. But Trey Tucker has kind of been this team's number one wide receiver just on how he's being utilized and being used. It's kind of a fine line with Geno. You don't want him to, he currently leads the league in interceptions with 7. You don't want him to force the big plays, especially when they're not there or they're completely covered. But at the same time, if you're being, take what the defense is giving you, take those short yardage and intermediate passes, you will eventually have more shots to go down the field as that defense starts to creep up. But all of them majority of these teams are playing a cover 2, and they're daring Geno Smith to throw the ball, say, look, we'll give you the underneath stuff, but you're not going to beat us over the top. We've already seen the tape. You had your almost 400-yard passing game, week 1 against the Patriots. This is not going to happen again. And if you want to continue to take shots, we're going to have that, deep end of the field, center field, and the corners as far as for deep posts or any shots. We're going to have that covered, and you might beat us with 1 or 2 passes. For the most part, that is going to be covered. So those are the 3 things I would say offensively that the Raiders need to exploit and need to work on against the Colts to try and get that win. Before I talk about the defense, wanted to talk about 2 Kings marketing. Finding reliable music promotion is hard work. That's why you should rely on 2kings.online for your music promotion needs. They've worked with people from the West Coast's own Hobson to New York's own Shine Poe. Their services include, but are not limited to, social media management, graphic design, press write-ups, social media design, website design, publicity, artist development, artist management, major label contract negotiations, album inlay design, independent music distribution, album marketing, producer placements, SMS blasts, advertisement placement, and radio promotions. Check them out today at 2kings.online for a consultation, or email them at ceo@2kings, that's the number 2, kings with an s.online, for a one-on-one session as to what they can do for you. All right, so let's go now on the defensive side of the ball and keys to victory for the Las Vegas Raiders against the Indianapolis Colts. First and foremost, pressure Daniel Jones. Can't stress this enough. Daniel Jones has kind of had a renaissance season for the Colts. Leads the NFL in QBR. Is a top 3 passer as far as yards. He's utilized a lot of play action. Shane Steichen, the coach for the Colts, keep it simple, stupid. I'm not saying either one of them are stupid, but the meaning of that is, just keep things vanilla. Don't give him anything that's too crazy, that's, too complex, and is going to put your quarterback in a position to make even more turnovers. And what's the best way to do that? Play action. You also have one of the top running back in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor has been a top 5 running back since he came in the league a few years back. He has had a great start to the season, over 400 yards rushing. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but they've got to be able to get pressure on Daniel Jones, preferably from the interior rush. Jonah Lalulu, Tyree Wilson, Adam Butler, who's been, surprisingly quiet so far the first 4 games of the season. These guys are going to have to get pressure on Daniel Jones, and consistent pressure. Make him uncomfortable, make him kind of scramble, get out of the pocket. He will run, but I do like the run support that the linebackers do have. disguise your blitzes, but whatever you have to do, you've got to get pressure on Daniel Jones. Key number 2, contain, not stop, contain Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor over the years versus the Raiders has absolutely murdered the Raiders. And it's been big plays, big chunk plays, extended drives, which has allowed the Colts, whether it's the deep ball or play action pass, to completely eat up the secondary because they're so keyed in on Jonathan Taylor. Got to be able to contain him, keep the yards at a contained, literally like the word says, and kind of keep him at bay to make it where you have kind of those mid to long third downs as far as obvious passing downs, and make Daniel Jones kind of that pocket passer, but also in that continue to get pressure on him to make plays there in the secondary. Max Crosby, I'm sure, is going to be double and triple teamed like he always is. It's time for the others, especially that I had said before. Shout out to Shaquille O'Neal for saying that. The others have got to step up and help Max Crosby. So far this year, for the most part, a lot of teams have been able to just neutralize the Raiders by trying to neutralize Crosby, because no one else has really kind of stepped up to make those single, one-on-one matchups really an advantage for the players on the defensive end. Malcolm Kunsto is starting to round into form on the opposite end of Max Crosby. Again, Tyree Wilson does have 2 sacks. It's not that they're having a bad year, but more is required for this team, especially on the defensive end, to really help and assist offensively, a team that's kind of struggling right now as far as to score points, and for this to all gel. The third point, as well as the secondary. Secondary has got to got to stay on their assignments. I'm sure that the Colts are going to try and exploit or pick on Isaiah Pola-Mao, who's kind of been a little shoddy in coverage so far this year. Jeremy Chin as well. Caillou Blue Kelly, had a solid first game. It's kind of regressed a little bit in the games after that, and he's kind of getting picked on by a lot of quarterbacks. So, the secondary as a whole has got to, stay on their assignments, not have, huge lapses that gives up big plays. Again, you got Michael Pittman Jr. over there for the Colts. Alec Pierce is questionable for this game, but Alec Pierce has been another guy, speed receiver, has been able to burn the Raiders on many occasions as well. These are all things that that secondary is going to have to contend with on a play-to-play basis. But you want to make Daniel Jones a little bit more one-dimensional and make him more a pocket passer to give yourself those opportunities to make those plays and turnovers. Turnovers are going to be big here. If the Raiders can't get a fumble, a sack, strip fumble, something to get into this game, it's going to be very tough for them, especially with how good the Colts are with their offensive line. Their offensive line has been historically top 5, top 10 unit. And you've got a top 5 running back in Jonathan Taylor. So it's going to be a tall task for the Raiders, but, these are my keys, my keys to victory. As far as a prediction, when I did my prediction show, I did have this as a win for the Raiders. I do see that they can win this game. They've had a tough start to the season, 1-3. I'm going to stick with my prediction. I don't think that it's going to be another close game. I think all the games really with the Raiders, maybe minus a couple, are going to be close. They have to play almost a perfect brand of football week in and week out, just to be not only competitive, but to win in games. Still a very young team offensively and defensively, but if I had to go out on a limb, I'm going to say 24-21 Raiders in this game. Hopefully they can get kind of get things going. Obviously, losing Holton Miller is a huge loss, but I think Chip Kelly and Braden Carroll, along with Pete, can get together, collaborate with something, and try to come up with different kind of schemes and combinations to assist that offensive line, give Geno the time that he needs like he had last week. And now with Ashton Genty going, if they do have a lead, I think they're going to use a little bit more ball control and time of possession, to hold on to that lead and kind of make defenses kind of get out of their shell in the sense of figuring out the Raiders offensively. And, I think as they progress, be able to take more deep shots down the field. But the intermediate and short passing game, that's why I've always said since the beginning of the year, Jack Besh, I would like to see him get more snaps. I think he can be utilized in this offense as kind of a pseudo tight end, or you have him, run those short routes along with Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and Michael Mayer. But again, the site, www.illuminati2g.com. That's the word Illuminati, number 2, letter G. You can also check out the I2G Radio podcast, where we do these Las Vegas Raiders podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I2G Radio, and our Viva Las Raiders podcast on YouTube. Word Viva, word Las, Las, Vegas, Vegas podcast. Put that in the search on YouTube. Urge everyone to like, comment, and subscribe to all of those channels to check out what we have going on. We also have our first quarter progress report for the Raiders that will be dropping later today as well. So you get a doubleheader today. But D-Nice, I2G Radio signing off. Again, I have it 24-21 Raiders over the Indianapolis Colts. Let's go Raiders. Peace.